School picture time is here, and every time I get my daughter ready for her pictures, I try not to follow current trends too much. I have this fear she'll have the same experience I did in 1990 when my mom decided to go all out with my school picture and not only give me a big enough pinafore on my dress that it could double as a windsail on a small boat, but she also teased my bangs and hair so big that I remember the photographer moving his camera back to get the full look. And yes, if you follow The Story Behind on Twitter, Instagram, and in the Facebook group, I'll post the picture for you all to see. I also encourage you to post some of your school photos so I don't feel so bad. But I bring this picture up for a reason. There wouldn't have been that awful picture in the world without today's topic. I'm your host, Emily Prokop, and this is the story behind Hairspray. But first, a quick book update. Only a few more weeks until the Story Behind book releases. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone who has supported me and the book, who've shared the link with their friends and family, and who've already pre-ordered copies. And thank you to Nick and Justin from the Epic Film Guys who did a giveaway for the book on their show. I would also love to give away some swag, so if you're listening to this and you've already bought a copy, email me a screenshot of your receipt or your confirmation email anytime between now and October 15th when it releases, and I'll do a giveaway for some Story Behind swag. You can send that to thestorybehindpod@gmail.com, and in case you're driving and don't want to remember email addresses, visit thestorybehindpodcast.com to contact me that way. Again, thank you to everyone who has already bought the book, and if you're looking for your copy, go to thestorybehindbook.com. It's always surprising when we find out that certain everyday objects became popular because of its use in wars, especially World War II, which popularized things such as peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Hairspray, believe it or not, also has a World War II connection. In fact, the aerosol cans we associate with hairspray came about during World War II. The U.S. government funded research for a way for military to be able to rid their camps of bugs, specifically those carrying malaria. Lyle Goodhue and William Sullivan from the Department of Agriculture developed the aerosol can, which made it easy for servicemen to carry around a can of liquefied gas to spray on the bugs. When the war was over, the aerosol can made its way back to the States and into the hands of the beauty industry, and they realized this would be the perfect solution for being able to keep a hairstyle in place. Before that, wax, gels, and different solutions were mostly used in hair before styling, or it was applied after styling, but without the use of a spraying container, it was harder to get an even distribution of the product. But once the aerosol cans were introduced, Chase Products developed the first commercially available hairspray in 1948, which was soon followed by plenty of copycats, including the nostalgia-inducing AquaNet. But the product wasn't called Hairspray until the company Haleen Curtis named it in 1950, calling their first version of the product SprayNet. Back then, it wasn't the lighter formula we are probably used to now. It created sticky, tough hairstyles. These hairsprays, and even some that are used today, used shellac, which is a natural resin. It was applied to the hair using pressurized gases in the aerosol can, and when dried, would harden in a glue-like fashion to keep hair from moving and keep it in place. In a time when washing hair was done maybe only a few times a month, many women would get their hair professionally washed and styled and sprayed in place. They would sleep with their hairstyles in, and because of the hairspray, only had to do minimal maintenance in the mornings. By the 1950s, Hollywood stars and teenagers alike were moving away from the conservative styles of the World War II era, and big hair got a boost in popularity. The bouffant and pompadour looks helped hairspray become what some called a more popular beauty product than lipstick. Even short, curly hairstyles, like those of Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor, could withstand hours under the hot lights of movie sets with the help of hairspray. It wasn't until the 1960s that hairspray became a mainstay in bathrooms all over the place. The 50s proved to be only a preview of how high hair could go. But in 1960, a hairdresser named Margaret Vinci Heldt from Chicago was asked to contribute a hairstyle to Modern Beauty Shop magazine that would bring readers into the new decade. She stayed up late one night with a mannequin head, teasing and backcombing the hair, piling it and wrapping it higher and higher and making sure to set the look with hairspray. She had a black velvet and red lace fez as her inspiration. She wanted to create a hairstyle that when the hat was taken off, the hair would retain the same shape. When Margaret added a black bauble pin to the back of the style, the writer of the article remarked that it made it look like a beehive, and that became the name. As the trend took off, Margaret has been quoted with saying she could never have managed to come up with the iconic look without the help of hairspray. Soon, beehives weren't the only big hair favorite in the decade. Sitcom stars like Marlo Thomas and Mary Tyler Moore became known for their iconic flips that required backcombing and more hairspray in between scenes. But soon the maintenance went out of favor, and a more natural look started emerging later in the decade. Celebrities like Mia Farrow and Twiggy popularized shorter styles that were much easier to maintain, and hairspray had a little dip in popularity. But luckily, the late 70s and 80s brought back big hair, with looks like Farrah Fawcett's long feathered shag. But there was a problem with the hairspray everyone had come to know by then. The fluorocarbons used in aerosol cans were found to be affecting the ozone layer. This wasn't just an effect of hairspray, by the way. These fluorocarbons were also found in industrial sprays and spray paint. But since we're probably all familiar with what it was like standing behind our moms in the bathroom and inevitably getting the taste of AquaNet inadvertently sprayed in our mouths, it seemed the easiest thing to do was to blame hairspray for the hole in the ozone. But over time, the harmful chemicals were replaced with water-soluble ones, and soon clog-free valves made hairspray available in pump form. And there was no shortage of new styles for hairspray during the 80s, with punk rock styles and teasing becoming all the rage. As you might know from episode 100, I'm quite a fan of musicals. For episode 100, I came up with doing musicals. Not now, past Emily. So you probably guessed that in an episode about Hairspray, I would be talking about the musical. But before it was a stage musical in 2002 and a movie adaptation in 2007, it was a 1988 John Waters movie starring Ricki Lake. The premise is a larger girl in 1962 wins a chance to be a dancer on a local dance show for teenagers, and while her addition to the cast is initially thought to be odd, she becomes a bit of a local celebrity, until she and her friends try to integrate the racially segregated show. When John Waters wrote the original screenplay, he based the story's fictional television show, The Corny Collins Show, on an actual Baltimore television show called The Buddy Dean Show, which ran from 1957 to 1963. The Buddy Dean Show was broadcast 6 days a week with local white teenagers dancing to popular music, except for one Monday every month when black teenagers were invited to the studio to dance to R&B. These Mondays were colloquially known as Black Mondays, and segregationists would hand out flyers to parents warning them about the so-called dangers of letting their kids listen to, quote, race music on those days. Baltimore was still very much segregated. In the same year Hairspray takes place, high school and college students staged a sit-in at a segregated Baltimore restaurant that led to them being arrested. Martin Luther King Jr. had urged thousands at a Masonic temple in Baltimore to continue demonstrating against segregation. At the end of the movie and musical versions of Hairspray, the Corny Collins Show becomes integrated, and everyone lives happily ever after. However, the real-life Buddy Dean Show was abruptly canceled in 1963 when they tried to integrate. Like in Hairspray, at first there was a peaceful protest and a picket outside the studio comprised of black and white members of the Civic Interest Group, which was a group founded at Morgan State College that favored local integration in the summer of 1962. The next year, a group known as Baltimore Youth Opportunities Unlimited planned a sneak attack on that August Black Monday. When the bus pulled up to the studio bringing the black teenagers to dance, white teenagers emerged from their nearby cars to join them. Because it was live TV, the show went on, and Baltimore saw what they had never seen before on television: white and black teenagers dancing together. The producers tried tricks to hide the attack, such as unfocusing the camera or turning the lights so low that skin color wasn't as easily seen. For the record, the station manager, Gwyn Owens, was nothing like his Hairspray counterpart, Velma Von Tussle. He was an integrationist and wanted the Buddy Dean Show to be integrated. However, those running the show knew that while the kids wouldn't mind, the parents would. Soon after the last song was played on that episode, the station received numerous threats and the show was canceled. Information for this episode was sourced from ThoughtCo, Fortune Magazine, The Washington Post, and more links, which can be found in the show notes at thestorybehindpodcast.com. This week on Trivia Tuesday in the Story Behind discussion group on Facebook, Chris posted, "When you get old, you have to work on your birthday. Not all trivia is fun. Well, happy birthday to you, Chris, and sorry you had to work on your birthday. Jeffrey posted that the first American novel to sell 1 million copies is Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, published in 1852. It has the subtitle, Life Among the Lowly, and made an unexpected appearance in 1951's Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, The King and I, under the translated title, Small House of Uncle Thomas, performed in a traditional Siamese style. If you'd like to talk about trivia you pick up during the week and have it read on the show, join the Story Behind discussion group on Facebook. This episode was brought to you by the Story Behind executive producers who support the show through the Patreon page at patreon.com/thestorybehind. They also get a sneak peek at the script of every show before it goes live. Thank you to them, and thank you for listening.